Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline for Pixie Dust PhD. In this video, we are going to be looking at 7-month availability for Disney Vacation Club. I am filming on March 14th. Happy Pi Day to all who celebrate. That means 7 months from now is October 14th. This is Indigenous Peoples Day in the United States. This is a federal holiday, so some folks get it off, though it is not the most common holiday to get off. Some schools, though, do plan their fall break around this time, so you do tend to see an uptick in park attendance. This is not necessarily a super busy time of year. We're not talking about crowds like New Year's or Thanksgiving, but it is an uptick at the very least. Again, 7 months from today, what we'll be focused on will be that fall break mid-October timeframe. But by virtue of the way the DVC reservation system works, we will also take a look at the 6-month timeframe. So 5.5 months would be around Labor Day in the US, so early September. You'll also get to see into November. So we're starting to look at home resort priority for Thanksgiving. And if it's interesting, we may go ahead and scroll forward through even to Christmas. Before we get started, a few quick disclaimers. This is only one slice in time, so it's not perfectly generalizable. I do these videos to give you an idea of what availability might look like, but it's not a guarantee by any means. Due to people changing their vacation plans, availability often does change day to day, sometimes even hour to hour. And I'm not recording this right when reservations open up at 8 a.m. Eastern. Therefore, availability this morning may have looked a little different. You'll probably hear me comment on that throughout the video. This video will be as exhaustive as possible, meaning we will take a look at all of the resorts that I can and all of the room sizes. And to prevent this video from being an hour long, but including all of that thorough content, we are going to be moving very, very quickly. You can check the description below for timestamps if you want to jump around. Please also feel free to pause and take screenshots wherever is useful to you. And if you more generally want the video to go slower, you can go ahead and adjust the playback speed in your YouTube player settings. Click the settings icon and then go to playback speed, and you can adjust it down to 0.75x, for example. All right, let's get to it. Again, we are looking at that prime fall time for a vacation. Specifically, I'm going to request that we check in on Monday, October 14th, and check out on Saturday, October 19th. That's a 5-night vacation right in that fall break timeframe. The way the booking interface generally works is it will show you your home resorts first. So starting up in my results, we'll look at Bay Lake Tower. We do have some Run Disney warnings here in the top red text. Interestingly, these are for events in the past. As of today, again, I'm filming in March 2024. These were Run Disney events in January and February. But overall, usually this red text is pretty informative about disruptions to your vacation, so construction or pool closures, things like that, don't skip past it. At Bay Lake Tower, 7 months in advance, we do have 2 rooms fully available. That's the 1-bedroom with the lake view and the 2-bedroom with the theme park view. So the 1-bedroom with the lake view overall availability is looking really good, honestly. Even most of September is available. You could stay Labor Day weekend. August is fully available. Yeah, this room is very available. I do think there's quite a lot of lake view inventory, so that may be factoring into this. The theme park views can be a little harder to snag, and you can see that there's already weekends in October gone, parts of September are gone. Not quite as available as the prior room, but still decent availability. And then if you wanted to stay in another type of room, you just have to hit this View Other Rooms button. Then typically the interface will show you the rooms in the order such that those with the most nights available of your request will pop up first. So here we've got 4 nights are available in the 1-bedroom standard view villa. So this one is just not check-in day of October 14th. This is an example of room availability where had you been logged in right at 8 a.m. this morning or ready to go, it may have been available this very first day and you may have been able to snag your vacation. But since I'm several hours late, not as lucky for me. Thanksgiving in the US this year is on November 28th, so it's rather late this year. You can see that's already booked up for this room. And Christmas night is booked, though the time right around Christmas is free. The standard view 1-bedroom has spotty availability, but it's not terrible. Next, we've got the Lakeview Deluxe Studio. Interestingly, so this is available for check-in day, October 14th, but then it stops on October 17th. So maybe you could make this a good split stay if you were interested in that room. Again, already taken for Thanksgiving. The whole week of Christmas is out. September is pretty bad, but lots of availability in August. And still quite a lot of availability in July too. Next up is the Lockoff, a 2-bedroom with a lake view. A very similar story to what we just saw with the Deluxe Studio in terms of the lake view. But honestly, it seems like if you're willing to put up with the summer heat, there's a lot of availability in July and August. Now we have the dedicated 2-bedroom with the lake view. Same situation, you can book it October 14th through 16th. But for some reason, that October 17th day is taken. You could still stay here early September for Labor Day. The time around Thanksgiving is taken though. But here you do have December 24th through 26th. But again, we're well into home resort priority by then. Next, we have the Deluxe Studio Standard View. This tends to be quite booked up because it is the cheapest room you can book here. And yeah, you can see all of September's gone. Most of November's gone at this point. Just a few days left in October. Almost all of December's gone. This is a room you really want home resort priority for. Here we have the 3-bedroom Grand Villa with a lake view. For how many points this costs, honestly, it is surprisingly kind of booked in my opinion. I'm never too surprised to see grand villas go right around holiday time because people do host their families, but I mean, even look at these, in my opinion, random days in October and September that are taken. Now we've got the 3-bedroom grand villa with the theme park view. Fairly similar story, surprisingly booked in my opinion, though I think availability is maybe slightly better than the cheaper 3-bedroom grand villa with the lake view. Here is the theme park view deluxe studio. Just a few days left really in September and October. November's patchy, December's pretty bad. You really have to get quite far into home resort owner priority at the 10-month mark or so before you're seeing good availability here. Here's the 2-bedroom lock-off with the standard view, so I'm expecting this to look pretty abysmal because it's a lock-off, so it'll be a standard view deluxe studio locked off into a standard view 1-bedroom. And yeah, pretty terrible. There are some dates in July and August, but it's definitely not the wide availability we were seeing for other room types. Here's the dedicated 2-bedroom villa with a standard view. Not great for when we're asking for in that fall break time frame. September's pretty taken, November's pretty taken. There's a stretch here in August, but not overwhelmingly available. This is now the 1-bedroom villa with a theme park view. This first part of October is already really taken, and again, so anytime after October 14th, you're into home resort owner priority. So the back half of October is very open right now, but that could still be snatched up by homeowners. There's a good stretch of availability in this first week of September, but otherwise patchy days, but August and July are quite available still. And last at Bay Lake Tower is the 2-bedroom lock-off with a theme park view. Absolutely nothing in the time frame we requested. Very little left, honestly, in September, October, and November, and December. January availability starts looking good again. So that was Bay Lake Tower. I think it really depends on what room type you're going after. Next up for me is my other home resort, villas at Disneyland Hotel. I've actually never looked at villas at Disneyland Hotel at the 7-month mark, so this will be a fun surprise for me. And maybe unsurprisingly, no rooms are fully available for your selected date. So yeah, this is one where I bought in because I thought you would need the 11-month home resort advantage, and it seems like I'm probably right. The room type with the most availability of our requested dates is the Preferred View Deluxe Studio. So again, it isn't available exactly 7 months from today on October 14th, but that might have been different this morning. But truly, every day until then is booked in October and September. June, July, and August are all fully booked. But if you do have home resort priority and you act on it, it looks pretty good. The back half of October, all of November, and all of December are available. So if you have home resort, you could even still book this for Christmas and New Year's. Moving down the list in room types, it looks like availability gets considerably worse. Next, we've got the Duo Studio with the standard view. So this is akin to the tower room at Riviera. It only sleeps 2 people. Very little availability in October. Interestingly, it is available exactly 7 months from today, but not the following nights. All of July, August, and September is already booked up. You could still snag this for Thanksgiving, a few nights around there, as well as the time after Christmas, but not Christmas and not New Year's. Here is a Preferred View Duo Studio. A very similar story, largely extremely booked up. That time around Thanksgiving is gone, as well as all the time around Christmas and New Year's, so definitely less available than the standard view. And here's the Deluxe Studio with the standard view. So 7 months from today is available, but not 7 months from tomorrow. It's like this every other pattern where 14th, 16th, and 18th are available, but not 15th, 17th, and 19th, which is kind of funny. If you have priority, that time right around Thanksgiving is available, starting on November 27th. All of Christmas week is available. New Year's Day is not available, but New Year's Eve you could book. Next, we've got the Duo Studio with the Garden View. Very booked. I believe the Garden View for the Duo Studios and the Deluxe Studios are the only view category of that size of room that comes with a balcony. So standard view and preferred view, I think you will not get a patio or balcony. If you want that in duo or deluxe size, then you have to book a garden. I'm not too sure what the total inventory count on these is. I'm guessing it's not high though. So between not having a ton of inventory and people really valuing having the patio or balcony, I'm not too surprised to see these be very competitive rooms. Next up, we've got the Deluxe Studio with the Garden View. So again, it will have that patio or balcony. Quite booked. It's not awful if you have home resort priority, but you can see, yeah, even 11 months from today is booked, so you do want to be on top of this. Here's the 1-bedroom villa with the preferred view. Extremely booked. There's 1 day available in November, 1 day in December. January's looking okay. Are there any other random days? No. The appetite for DVC at Disneyland is high, y'all. Here's your 2-bedroom lock-off villa with a preferred view. Because it's a lock-off, I'm not expecting anything good. Mirrors poor availability in the other rooms. Here's the dedicated 2-bedroom villa. 100% booked October, September, August, July, 1 day available in November, 2 days in December. January and February look okay. And the last room of the Villas at Disneyland Hotel is the 3-bedroom grand villa. It has a preferred view. There is simply no availability for this room. On to the next resort, we will go over to Hawaii, out to Aulani. Here there's actually quite a lot of room types with availability, so that is encouraging. In fact, almost all of the room types. The standard view deluxe studio, the 2-bedroom lock-off with the standard view, the dedicated 2-bedroom with the standard view, the hotel room, and then the standard view 3-bedroom are the only room types not fully available. There's a lot of room types at Aulani, so we are going to speed through this kind of fast. Here is the deluxe studio with the island garden view, quite available in home resort owner priority. You can still check in right 7 months from now. There's random days available in September, but June, July, August are looking pretty bad. Here's the deluxe studio with the poolside garden view. Pretty similar story. October's looking good. A good chunk of days in September, though the longest you can stretch together I think is only 3 nights, and then not much happening sooner than that. Here's the Ocean View Deluxe Studio. Again, 7 months from today is fine, but I wouldn't delay much past 7 months probably. September is very available, interestingly. Summertime, not as much. A 1-bedroom villa with a standard view. Pretty good in October and September. Nothing in June or July, and just a couple days in August. Here's the Islands Garden View 1-bedroom villa. Again, October and September look pretty good, but pretty much nothing in August, just 3 nights in a row, literally nothing in July, and a few random days in June. Here's the 1-bedroom villa poolside gardens view, 100% available September, October, and November. Just a few days in June, July, and August, though. So you could stay here for Thanksgiving, although Christmas is taken as well as New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Here's that Ocean View 1-bedroom villa. Again, 100% available September, October, November. You could stay here for Christmas, but not for New Year's. For anyone who's been to Aulani, let me know what your preference of room view is. In my head, I would go for Ocean View, but I don't know if I'm being naive. All right, now we've got the 2-bedroom lock-off villa with the Islands Garden View. Decent in October, patchier though in September, and not much before that. Thanksgiving is taken, and Christmas and New Year's is also taken. Here we've got the 2-bedroom villa Islands Garden View. So this is a dedicated 2-bedroom. Pretty available in October and September. The exact night of Thanksgiving is taken, but time around that is available, and Christmas through New Year's is already taken. This is the lock-off 2-bedroom with the poolside garden view, available for when we asked, and it's okay before that. I mean, you can get 3 nights in a row or so earlier, but really only at 6 months. I mean, once you're pushing into July and August, it's 100% taken. And the night before Thanksgiving is taken, as well as all of the time around Christmas and New Year's. Now we've got the 2-bedroom villa with poolside garden view. This is a dedicated 2-bedroom. Pretty good availability in August and September, even into home resort owner. November is fully available. Most of December is available, but again, this time between Christmas and New Year's is taken. That last week of August is almost fully available, but that's about it. So for many of these rooms, we're seeing decent availability in September, which would be about 5.5 months in advance. I wouldn't push it much before that, at least if much before that is summertime. It looks like summer is very popular to go to Aulani. Here we have a lock-off 2-bedroom with the ocean view. Again, available for when we asked and for much of September. You could book this room for American Thanksgiving and Christmas night, but after Christmas night, you are out of luck for the rest of December and through New Year's. This is a 2-bedroom villa with an ocean view. This is a dedicated 2-bedroom, 100% available September, October, November. Pretty available in December, but not for that time after Christmas through New Year's. And the last week of August is fully available, but much before that is extremely limited availability. This is the 3-bedroom grand villa with an ocean view. Fairly available, not as good availability as we just saw, but that's not bad at all, honestly. Naturally, the time that American Thanksgiving is taken, the time right after Christmas is taken, and New Year's Eve. But otherwise, pretty good availability in October, September, and the back half of August. Here's the deluxe studio with the standard view. So I don't have the Aulani point charts memorized, but this should be one of the cheaper rooms. It's not fully available for the time that we requested, but just not the day 7 months from today. So again, had you been up at 8 a.m. Eastern to book this, maybe you could have snagged these full dates. There's just random days in September. Early October is already fully booked. Almost all of August is booked. So this seems to be a competitive room. And Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's are already booked up. We've got the 2-bedroom lock-off villa with standard view. I'm expecting this to look like the deluxe studio with a standard view, so very similar story here. It's going to be a competitive room. You'll really want to be on top of that or even have home resort priority. We have a dedicated 2-bedroom villa with a standard view. kind of available in October, but randomly every Wednesday, but mostly not the Tuesdays or Thursdays, so hard to string together a bunch of nights in a row. A few nights here and there in September, some 2 nights together, a little bit in August, but overall fairly unavailable. Looking more in the future into home resort owner priority, all that week of Thanksgiving is gone, Christmas through New Year's is gone. Here we've got a hotel room with a standard view, very extremely booked. Looking at the points per night here, I'm guessing this is probably the cheapest room you can book. All of September is gone, almost all of October is gone, almost all of November and December are gone. If you want to book this on DVC points, you really need home resort priority. And then we have the 3-bedroom Grand Villa with standard view, 100% booked September, October, November, December, January, and February. So that's also one. If you want to book, you'll need home resort priority. That wraps up Aulani. Next, let's go to Saratoga Springs. And I'm expecting to see pretty good availability here. And yeah, literally every room type is fully available, so we won't spend too long on this one. But here's a look at the Deluxe Studio standard room. All available in August and October, most of September, even still all of July, almost all of June, days in May. And we're filming this in March. Here is the Preferred Deluxe Studio. Again, all of October, all but 1 day in September. All of August and July, and all but 1 day in June. And holiday time is totally available if you have home resort owner priority. Here we have a 1-bedroom standard, just fully available January, December, November, October, September, August, July, June, May. We finally get some days that aren't available, but even April is mostly available. If you're going on short notice, maybe target this room. And here's the 1-bedroom Preferred. Again, just super available. This does not tend to be a terribly competitive resort. It's not one I think you generally will need home resort owner priority for. Here is a lock-off 2-bedroom standard. So we've got all of October, almost all of November, most of September, all of August and July, all but 1 day in June. April and May are patchier. Here's the dedicated 2-bedroom villa standard, just fully available until you get to May. But even most of April is still available. Here's the lock-off 2-bedroom with the Preferred view. There is 1 day in September you could not book, but all of August and July are available. All but 1 day in June is available, and there is still availability in April and May. Here's the dedicated 2-bedroom villa Preferred, totally available. No worries until you get to May and April, really. Here is the fun treehouse villa. So this is something you can only do at Saratoga. And really, it seems like these are also not very hard to book. Even April is almost totally available still. And yeah, you could celebrate any of the winter holidays in the treehouse villa. Here's the 3-bedroom Grand Villa standard room. So even this has really great availability, which 3 bedrooms can be quite hard to snag. Maybe about half of June is taken. May's not as good either, but even April is not terrible. Then again, April is a little bit of higher points cost, so maybe that's why people aren't booking it. And we have the 3-bedroom Grand Villa Preferred. Fully available in October, August, almost all of September, almost all of July. June is quite taken though, as is May. Again, April's pretty available, I'm guessing because the points cost. Saratoga Springs is an old reliable, typically. Next we have Animal Kingdom villas at Kidani Village. Most of the Animal Kingdom villas inventory is over at Kidani, so these rooms are usually fairly available. And yeah, you can see the only room type that's not fully available is the standard view 3-bedroom Grand Villa, so we'll also move through this fairly fast. We've got the Deluxe Studio standard view at Kidani, looking good in October. Strings of several nights in a row. In September and August you could book. July is quite available. Starts to get patchy in May and June. Taking a look at holidays, the night of Thanksgiving is booked, but Christmas is still available. New Year's Eve is available, but not New Year's Day. Here's the Savannah View Deluxe Studio, which if you have the points, I do suggest you upgrade to Savannah View. October's looking good. Thanksgiving is available. Christmas and New Year's is available. And there's some availability in September, but you would have to be flexible, but August and July are looking great. Here's a standard view 1-bedroom, just fully available. No worries about holidays in the winter if you have home resort priority. October, September, August, July, fully available. And then you start to see reduced availability in June, May, and April, but you could definitely still go on a week-long vacation. Here's the Savannah View 1-bedroom at Kidani. A similar story, winter holidays are looking good. October, September, August, July, looking good. June and May is maybe slightly less available, same with April, but you could still go for several nights in a row. This is the lock-off 2-bedroom with a standard view. I'm expecting this to mirror availability we've seen in standard view for the Deluxe Studio and 1-bedroom, and you can see it largely does. Here's the dedicated 2-bedroom with a standard view. So this one's a little more competitive. There's stretches here in September that are gone. This weekend in October leading up to when we were booking is gone. So that's just like 7 months minus 1 day booking, really. The night before Thanksgiving is gone, the night after Christmas is gone, and then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are already booked. So if you want the dedicated 2-bedroom villa, that seems to be a little more competitive. Here's the lock-off 2-bedroom with Savannah view. Again, pretty dang available. Not seeing any huge issues here. September is the cheapest travel period for Disney Vacation Club points rate, so sometimes you do see more taken in September versus, August and October and the surrounding months. I think that's proven true in most of the resorts we've looked at so far. And here we've got the dedicated 2-bedroom with the Savannah view. Again, this weekend, directly before our requested booking dates, October 11th through 13th are taken, but the rest of October looks good. September is pretty available. No issues in July or August. Starts to get patchy for May and June, but April's not bad. Now we have the 3-bedroom grand villa with the Savannah view. Fairly open, not for Thanksgiving. You could stay here Christmas though, and you could stay here New Year's Day night, but not New Year's Eve night. Pretty good availability for September given this points rate for a 3-bedroom grand villa. That's not bad at all. Considerably less in May and June though. And the last room at Kidani is the 3-bedroom grand villa with the standard view. So this is not fully available for our selected days. Again, the day that's not available is exactly 7 months from today. But if you are flexible, you could go earlier in October, you could go early in September, all of August just about maybe half of July, a few nights in June and May. Looking forward a bit, the time leading up to and through US Thanksgiving is taken, as well as the time right around Christmas, as well as New Year's and New Year's Day. Next resort we have is Old Key West. I tend to think of this like Saratoga Springs. I think it should be fairly available. There's a lot of inventory here and demand is not incredibly high. There are 2 room types not fully available, and those are both of the 3-bedroom grand villas. So as a general rule of thumb, 3-bedroom grand villa inventory is low everywhere. Those rooms do tend to be more competitive. Let's go ahead and take a look. Here we have the Deluxe Studio, 100% available in October. There are stretches of September that are taken, but again, you're talking 9 points a night, so that's probably why. But August and July are looking good. You could stay on the weekends in June. May's pretty booked though, as well as probably about half of April. Looking into home resort owner priority, we do have good availability around US Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Here's the Deluxe Studio near the Hospitality House. Less available than just the general Deluxe Studio. I think that's just a reflection of inventory. There is naturally less inventory right near the Hospitality House. But you could definitely still stay here. It's not impossible to get this room on shorter notice, but you will have to be more flexible. Or you can just stay in a normal Deluxe Studio not near the Hospitality House. Here's the 1-bedroom, 100% available September, October, November, December, and January, so no worries there. This is the normal 1-bedroom, not the one near the Hospitality House. Still 100% available June, July, and August. Most of May and most of April are even still available. Now this is the 1-bedroom villa near the Hospitality House. Still fairly available, but again, you're seeing more dates taken. Again, this is just a more preferable location, so people will tend to book this one up instead. But decent availability overall. This is the 2-bedroom lock-off near the Hospitality House, so I'm expecting this to mirror availability for the 1-bedroom and the Deluxe Studio near the Hospitality House. Really no surprises here. The Disney Vacation Club website has crashed, so I will have to reload. A new reload does mean potentially slightly different availability, but we'll continue when we can. Here is the dedicated 2-bedroom villa, so just 100% available September, October, November, December, January. Kind of no worries if you have home resort. If you don't have home resort, even July and August are fully available. Almost all of June, almost all of May, almost all of April. If you want to stay in a standard 2-bedroom villa at Old Key West, you probably can. Here's the 2-bedroom near the Hospitality House, so less available than the standard, but still decent availability. You can still stay here all of Christmas week, for example. Most of September is available, most of August and July. A lot of June, but it is patchier. Considerably less availability in April and May. And then the rooms that aren't available are the 3-bedroom grand villa, so here's the standard. Decent availability in October, at least for a 3-bedroom in my opinion, and pretty good in September. A lot of August is available, pretty good in July, not much elsewise. Let's go ahead and take a look at winter holidays. The time around Thanksgiving is taken, Christmas night is taken, and then New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And here's the 3-bedroom grand villa near the Hospitality House. This room tends to get booked up. I think people are like, if I'm going to spend these points, I want to be in the prime location. So yeah, very not good availability overall, even in home resort owner. If this is a room you definitely want and you're not flexible with your plans or you want to stay over high demand times like holidays, a home resort contract here will do you well. All right, next we have the Riviera Resort. The Preferred View Deluxe Studio is fully available for our requested days, and actually even most of October before that. But most of September is taken. August has very good availability though, as does July. Much sooner than that though, just kind of single nights here and there. If you do have home resort ownership, all of Thanksgiving week is available, all of Christmas week is available, but New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are already taken. This is the Standard View 1-bedroom villa. Pretty good availability in October leading up to the 7-month time point. September, it would depend on when you want to go, but if you're flexible, 4 night stretches in a row here. This room's quite available, honestly, in August and July. There's some good stretches in June, but not a ton in May. And for the Standard View 1-bedroom villa for holiday time, the night of Thanksgiving is taken, as well as the night of New Year's Eve, but Christmas week is available. Here we've got the 1-bedroom villa with the Preferred View, super available. This is a considerable point cost per night for a 1-bedroom in my opinion. I think the Preferred View really pushes it up over the top, which is maybe why you're seeing better availability. Here's the 2-bedroom lock-off Preferred View. I'm expecting this to be similar to the Preferred View Deluxe Studio. And yeah, you can see again, the front half of October looks fine, but most of September is taken. If you want to go in the heat of the summer, you're probably okay. Otherwise, not as good availability. Here we have a dedicated 2-bedroom with a Preferred View. First half of October is looking pretty good. Most of September is available. All of August, almost all of July. After that, it gets a little patchy. For this room, home resort priority is looking wide open across the winter holidays. And we've got the 3-bedroom grand villa, fully available for the days we asked for. Pretty available for the first half of October in general. There's some availability in September still, a decent amount in August and July, otherwise patchier. If you wanted to spend your holidays in a 3-bedroom grand villa, the night of Thanksgiving is already taken, the night of New Year's Eve and New Year's Day is taken, but that time around Christmas is available. And these are the room types that are not fully available for the days that we requested. So we've got the Standard View dedicated 2-bedroom villa, available the 14th, 15th, 16th, just not that 17th, 18th. But you could also adjust if you wanted to stay longer. You could do October 1st through 4th. Pretty much single days, and it's September. There's a couple days stretched together. Actually, if you go back in the first week of October, if you wanted to start September 28th, you do September 28th through October 4th. That's a good long vacation. August and July are probably about half available, but not much before that. Here's the Tower Studio. So this sleeps 2 people. It is the cheapest room you can book at the Riviera. Pretty not available. Most of October is taken. All of September is taken. A few days here and there in August and July. Just 1 day left in June, nothing for April or May. Looking into home resort owner priority, the night of Thanksgiving is taken, the night of Christmas is taken, as well as New Year's Eve, although you could stay New Year's Day. This is quite a competitive room. Here we've got the Standard View Deluxe Studio. So the Tower View is the cheapest, but only sleeps 2 people. If you want a room with a little bit more space, or say you have 3 or 4 or 5 people, then this room becomes your cheapest. You can see it's quite competitive, probably because of that. Virtually nothing left in September, just 1 day at this point. And even, these heat of the summer months, July and August, availability is pretty slim. And finally, for Riviera, we have the 2-bedroom lock-off villa with a Standard View. I'm expecting this to look like the Deluxe Studio with a Standard View. Again, availability here is just not going to be great. So depending on what room type you want at Riviera, a home resort contract could be very advantageous, but it might not be necessary. Back over to Animal Kingdom Villas, we are now at the Jambo House side of things. And actually, this is not bad availability. You've got Deluxe Studios 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms to choose from. So here's the Standard View Deluxe Studio. It died again. All right, we've reloaded again. Now let's take a look at Jambo House. Here's your Standard View Deluxe Studio. Available right when we asked, but I think we might have gotten lucky because, there's some times in earlier October that are definitely taken. Most of September's gone. There's availability in July and August, but maybe not as thorough as we've seen for some other rooms at some other resorts. Here's the Deluxe Studio Savannah View. Similar story. It's not fully available earlier in October. We may have gotten a bit lucky here. A lot of September is booked. July and August is decent, but it's not 100% available. If we go ahead and move forward into home resort owner priority, you can see the New Year's time is already taken, but the night of Thanksgiving and the night before is available, as well as this week of Christmas. Oh, we have a 1-bedroom value that is available. That is so surprising to me. Typically values are very hard to come by if you don't have home resort, but look at that. Even not right at 7 months, you've got 2 nights together in October, 3 nights together the 7th through 9th. Single days in September. 3 nights here in August, 2 nights in July. This is not terrible. If you were going to stay at a more expensive deluxe studio, you may look to see if 1-bedroom values are available at Animal Kingdom. Here's the standard view 1-bedroom villa. This is very available. Look at that. Almost all of October and September are available. Literally all of July and August are available. There's some stretches in June, but not a lot in May. Full weeks still in April. And here is the 2-bedroom lock-off with a standard view, so should mirror other standard views we've seen. Again, maybe we're getting a little bit lucky with this October timing and doing this right at 7 months. There's not hardly anything left in September. August and July look okay, but that's kind of about it. And for other room types, the 3-bedroom grand villa with the Savannah view, not available these first 2 days of our request. Perhaps if you were persistent, this could work out, or if you got lucky this morning, I'm not too sure. Interestingly here, the time around Thanksgiving is taken, but not Thanksgiving night. Christmas week is gone, New Year's Eve is gone, but New Year's Day is available. For a 3-bedroom grand villa, honestly decent availability in September and August. Alright, next we have a 1-bedroom with the Savannah view. So this is available 7 months from today and 7 months from tomorrow, but not later into our requested time. But if you could move your trip by a week or so, you could stay the 4th through 10th just fine. Decent availability in September, I would say. Most of August and July are available. That looks pretty good. For winter holidays, that week of Thanksgiving is already booked out, but you have the full week of Christmas as well as through New Year's Eve, but not the night of New Year's Day. Here we've got a 2-bedroom walk-off Savannah view, so this should look like other Savannah view we've seen. No real surprises here. Availability is not terrible. It's not 100%. Club concierge, I'm expecting to see next to nothing, so yeah. Within the 7-month time frame, club level rooms might be the most competitive rooms. I'd love to see data on that someday. Here's the value studio rooms, one of the cheapest rooms, if not the cheapest on property. Also incredibly competitive, as you can see. Just fully not available. You know, even well into home resort owner priority, there's next to nothing. The deluxe studio with club level, I'm expecting to see quite literally nothing. There is one day, May 21st. That night you could stay. Here's the 2-bedroom lock-off value, so because this is a lock-off, it's going to mirror what we've already seen, which is next to no availability. And the 2-bedroom lock-off for club level, again, you're not going to get this if you don't have home resort priority or if you don't get extremely lucky, and even then, it'll be like one night probably. That wraps up Animal Kingdom. Next we have Copper Creek. Almost all of these room types are available. That's exciting. So here's the deluxe studio, available for when we asked, but you can see earlier in October is patchier, so I do think you have to be on top of this one. Just a few nights in September. Handfuls of nights in July and August, but not super available. Copper Creek is quite popular overall. Even going into home resort owner priority, you can see most of November and December are already taken. Next we have the 1-bedroom villa at Copper Creek. Fully available in October. That's kind of surprising to me, honestly. There's some availability in September, but all of August is available, almost all of July. This is not bad. If you have the points to spend, this may be the room I would target if you want to stay at Copper Creek and don't have home resort priority. Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's Eve are already taken. Here is the 2-bedroom lock-off villa, so I'm not expecting this to be too great. As you can see, overall quite booked. Here is the cabin. These tend to not be so booked, I think just because they cost so many points. So even September, which is the fewest amount of points per night you'll spend on this cabin, is fully available still. And yeah, all of the winter holidays are available. If you have the points to book a cabin, bless up, good for you, and you can probably stay there when you want to. July 4th, which is Independence Day in the United States, is taken. Here's the 3-bedroom grand villa, available right for when we asked, but I think, maybe we got lucky being right on top of it at 7 months. Not nearly as available in September. August is quite available, but not as much in July. Looking at winter holidays, this is booked up right for American Thanksgiving, and the time leading up to Christmas, including Christmas night, is available, but not the time after that, and not New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. The rooms that were not available are the dedicated 2-bedrooms, so that's mostly available. It's not October 17th and 18th, but you could stay here the first 3 nights and do a really nice split stay. The whole back half of August is available, some chunks in September, definitely some good stretches in July. This may be a little bit of a luck factor, but I don't think it's impossible to get this room at 7 months. Then you've got the deluxe studio with the walk-in showers. The one that we looked at earlier was a deluxe studio with the standard shower tub combo. This is kind of what I think of when I think of studios at Copper Creek. It's like pretty dang booked. And then naturally the 2-bedroom lock-off, including the walk-in shower, relies on availability of deluxe studios with walk-in shower, so also going to be quite booked. Next we'll head to Vero Beach Resort. So 3 of these rooms are fully available. It's the deluxe in standard view. Super available October, September, November, December, January, no problems. Summers tend to be popular for Vero Beach, no surprise. The back half of August is still available though. Here we have the deluxe studio. Again, really no problems. September, October, November, back half of August, but summer is pretty booked. And the deluxe in-room with the ocean view. Slightly more booked in October and September. A little bit less availability in August. Overall, not too hard to snag a room at Vero Beach if you're planning about 5 months out in advance or so. It will depend on the time of year though. I do think summer is considerably more competitive, and it does depend on the room type you want to stay in. So we'll skip down for a second to this 3-bedroom beach cottage. These are very popular. If you want this room, you probably do need home resort priority. Interestingly, Christmas Eve through December 28th is still available, but you can see like New Year's Eve is taken, Thanksgiving is taken, all of October leading up to the 7-month time frame is taken. This is a very popular room. That's the one you would want home resort priority for sure. 1-bedroom villa, not fully available for the days we selected, but it was close. If you were flexible, you could definitely stay here, no worries. Here's the 2-bedroom lock-off villa. Similar story, obviously, because it's a lock-off, so combining availability of the deluxe studio and the 1-bedroom. Here's a dedicated 2-bedroom. Maybe slightly more in demand than the lock-off 2-bedroom. Again, if you were flexible, I think you could stay here, at least in the fall, with probably no issues. And that's Vero Beach. Next, we're moving over to the villas at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort. So the only 2 rooms available are the resort studios. These are like the more hotel room type rooms. So here's the resort studio with the lagoon view. Pretty available in early October, some availability in September. August and July look great, not too much otherwise. Looking into winter holidays, you could stay right around Thanksgiving. You can stay the entire week of Christmas, but New Year's Eve is gone. Here's the theme park view resort studio. Fairly similar looking, honestly. You cannot stay Thanksgiving night, but again, Christmas is available, but New Year's Eve is not. Good availability in August and July. Otherwise, plan ahead. Now, all the other room types. Here is the 3-bedroom villa with a lake view. Almost fully available for when we asked, just not for this Friday night, so that's not bad at all if you were willing to be flexible. Overall, not great availability, honestly. Again, 3-bedroom inventory is just small, so it tends to be something you'll want home resort priority for. Thanksgiving is taken. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are available, but nothing around that. Here, we're back to the resort studio, but this is a standard view. The beginning 3 days of when we asked for is available, just not this Thursday. You can see September is quite booked, and there's some availability in August, but it's not great. Thanksgiving is gone, New Year's Eve is gone, but this week of Christmas is available. Here we have a 1-bedroom villa with a standard view. Similar story. The beginning portion of what we requested is available, but just one random day interrupting our beautiful planned trip. August is quite available here though, as well as July. Now we've got the lake view 1-bedroom. Honestly, like the first half of October is fairly available, especially if you were willing to resort hop. This would not be a problem. But September is already pretty much taken. That being said, the heat of the summer months, July and August, are pretty available. I think you'd do okay booking this room overall without home resort priority. Here is a dedicated 2-bedroom villa with a standard view. Fairly similar story, I think slightly less available than what we just looked at, but it's not tragic by any means. Here's the lake view 2-bedroom villa. Again, with some flexibility, you can have a nice long stay here if you're planning 6.5 months out. Here is the deluxe studio lake view. 6.5 to 7 months or so is probably dependent on luck for the most part. September is quite booked. August is okay though, honestly. If you can deal with the heat in August, you might be able to get this room. Looking more into the future, Thanksgiving is taken. The week of Christmas is available, but New Year's Eve is not. We've got the 2-bedroom lock-off with the lake view, so this should look like the other lake view stuff we've seen. Again, it's not awful availability, but it is a competitive room, at least in the fall and the winter, I think. Here is the standard view deluxe studio. Pretty taken, honestly. You could go October 6th through 9th. That's not terrible, but not a lot in September or even August or July. And winter holidays are taken for the most part. You could say the night of American Thanksgiving and a little stretch after Christmas, but that's about it. And finally, we have the 2-bedroom lock-off standard view. Again, this should look like the other standard views we've seen. Just not a ton of availability. Thanksgiving's gone, Christmas is gone, New Year's Eve is gone. Again, October 6th through 9th you could do, but that's kind of the longest stretch. Inventory for the Grand Floridian outside of those resort studios is actually pretty low, so these can be quite competitive rooms. Next resort is Hilton Head. So the 2-bedroom villa and the 3-bedroom grand villa are fully available for the days that we asked for. 2-bedroom looks decent, honestly, the first half of October, but September is rough. And this is a beach resort, so unsurprisingly, June, July, and August are pretty booked up. But holiday time is fully available if you do have home resort owner priority. And looking at the 3-bedroom Grand Villa, most of the first half of October is actually booked, so maybe you would want to be quite on top of this. Honestly, not a ton of availability. And Thanksgiving as well as New Year's Eve is taken, but the time right around Christmas is still available. There's only 2 other room types. We'll start with the 1-bedroom villa, just not available 7 months from today, so you might have been okay if you were on top of it this morning, but honestly, this is a very competitive room. But it does look like with home resort priority, you wouldn't have issues. And here's the deluxe studio. Similar, honestly, very competitive. The first half of October is already fully booked. Almost all of September is booked. All of the summer. That's when you'll want to be on top of for sure. Next, we've got the Polynesian villas and bungalows. And like I said, don't fully ignore your red text, because down here you've got now through fall of 2024, work will take place to paint the exterior buildings throughout the poly. Guest room balconies are also being affected, so this may sway your decision on where you want to stay during your vacation. At the Poly, the deluxe studio with the standard view looks like it was fully available when I loaded, but maybe someone snagged this Thursday night in the interim. That can happen sometimes. October 7th through 9th is available, but all of September is booked. Some availability in August and July. It's not terrible, but it's not as good as we've seen with some other rooms at other resorts. And Thanksgiving is taken as well as New Year's Eve, but Christmas is available. Then we've got the bungalow, and similar to the cabins over at Copper Creek, these just tend to be fairly available, I think, because they cost so many points. So you don't usually have to plan super far in advance to book this room. Holidays can be an exception, so like July 4th, Independence Day in the US is already taken. The only room type not available is the Lakeview Deluxe Studio, so yeah, it's pretty booked, honestly. It's not 100% booked, but it's fairly booked. 7 months out, 6 months out, totally booked. July's not bad. And looking into the future, Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve are booked, but the Christmas week is available. Personally, I have had luck going on the wait list for the Polynesian. If you want to stay here, but it's not available 7 months out, try to book something else and put yourself on the wait list, maybe. Next, we have Boulder Ridge Villas. The only room type fully available for our dates is the 1-bedroom villa, and honestly, that's just fully available. Wow. July through October, 100% available, and honestly, mostly available in June. This room you could still stay in over July 4th. And even winter holidays look good here. You've got the week of Thanksgiving, the week of Christmas, as well as New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Here are the other room types not fully available for our requested dates. So this is a dedicated 2-bedroom, almost fully available, not fully available 7 months from today. Again, had you woken up this morning, maybe this would have been a different story. Honestly, pretty good availability for September, given that September is the cheapest month. And July and August still look pretty great. Thanksgiving is booked though, as well as New Year's Eve, but Christmas week is available. Here is the deluxe studio. I tend to think of these like Copper Creek, like usually pretty booked. So I'm not surprised to see that this was not available for our requested dates and that most of October and September are already snagged. There's a stretch at the end of August and some days in June, but overall this is a fairly competitive room, even into home resort owner priority. And here we've got the 2-bedroom lock-off villa, so again, not going to look super meaningfully different from the deluxe studio we just looked at. A competitive room. Next we've got the BoardWalk. Price per night here is pretty dang economical, so this tends to be extremely competitive at the 7-month mark. The only room fully available for our requested dates is the 1-bedroom with a garden or pool view, but honestly this looks good. Like, all of October leading into 7 months is available, and most of September is still available. All of August is available. Almost all of July, everything but July 4th is available, and still a ton of June even. I'm kind of surprised to see it be this available. I do think the garden or pool view inventory is larger than the other categories though. And here are all the other room types. So standard view 1-bedroom, pretty dang booked. This is definitely something you want home resort priority for, or book something else, go on the waitlist and hope you get lucky. Here's the garden or pool view deluxe studio. I have had luck with the waitlist with this, but you know, there's never any guarantees. Quite booked. There's a couple of 2-night stretches in a row, but nothing significant. Here's the 2-bedroom lock-off garden or pool view, so this will mirror what we just looked at. Quite booked. This is the 3-bedroom Grand Villa with a boardwalk view, so there are a couple nights in our requested time frame. Thanksgiving is still available if you have home resort owner priority. Christmas night is available, but not Christmas Eve, and not New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Here's the boardwalk view deluxe studio, so I believe this costs the same amount of points as the garden or pool view, but I think inventory is much smaller. That being said, if you're paying the same amount of points, a lot of people would prefer the boardwalk view, so this tends to be a very competitive room. You can see all of September's gone, all but 1 day each in July and August. There's 1 day within 7 months, so technically this day, the 15th, is 7 months plus 1 day from today. So there's one day in October within that 7-month time frame. But you can look into home resort owner priority and see how booked it already is. Here's the 1-bedroom with the boardwalk view. Similar sentiment to Gardner Pool View. I think it's the same points cost, so it tends to be more in demand. I believe it has lower inventory. Going to be a harder room to book without home resort owner priority, but hey, there's a long stretch here in July. That's like a full week, really. Here is the Standard View Deluxe Studio. This is one of the cheapest rooms on property. Very hard to book without home resort owner priority. I would pretty much never bank on it. I would book something else and go on the wait list if this is what you really wanted. 2-bedroom lock-off Standard View suffers from the fact that it's a lock-off with the Deluxe Studio Standard View, so again, very in demand. I would not count on this if you do not have home resort priority. And here's the 2-bedroom lock-off with the boardwalk view. A pretty in-demand room. Boardwalk home resort owners definitely take advantage of your 11-month booking window. Then we've got Beach Club. I'm surprised to see any of these rooms are fully available. That feels rare to me. So you can stay in the 1-bedroom villa for the exact dates we requested. This Sunday, October 13th is not available, but the days before that leading up, the 8th through 12th are. So actually that's not bad. There's some time here in September. Beach Club is so popular. People love that pool. People love the location. It's definitely a harder one to book if you don't own a contract there. Here's a look at the Deluxe Studio. So yeah, it's pretty abysmal. Almost nothing in October. And actually all of it is in home resort owner priority already. Nothing September, July, June, August. It's just a lot of nothing. Very little in November or December. January starts to look better, but you're well into home resort owner priority by then. 2-bedroom walk-off villa will look the same. So yeah, you really have to wait until January until you kind of have your pick of the litter. And here's the dedicated 2-bedroom villa. Couple nights in October and September that you could book as a non-home resort owner. It's patchy. It's not nothing, but it's not great. If you do own home resort here, availability does look better in that sort of like 8-month window. Here's the newest Disney Vacation Club resort. This is the Cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness. I'm actually surprised that I can see this because I don't think they would let me book it yet. I thought I had to wait until about mid to late April, but so far availability is good. This is new though, so we'll really have to wait and see over time what happens here. I would not take the fact that this is 100% available as indicative of anything just yet. Here we've got the villas at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel. Long story short, like this is almost never going to be available at 7 months, maybe for a couple nights. And by that I mean like one night, but yeah, so even this is available for 3 nights out of our requested dates, but it doesn't start till the 16th. So you're plus 2 days into home resort owner priority. Sometimes you can luck into random single nights. We're looking at a dedicated 2-bedroom here, but this is, even for home resort owners, this is a very, very, very competitive location. Here's the 1-bedroom. Again, these nights are into home resort owner priority. Before that, you know, nothing. Within priority is actually not too bad. Like November looks pretty good. The Deluxe Studio, so the cheapest room here, very hard to get if you don't own here. I've never tried to waitlist. I've heard some success stories, but I don't think it's super common, especially if you're trying to stay there for a longer period of time. That's rough. If you're only waitlisting 1 or 2 nights, tends to go better. That tends to be true at most resorts, I believe. Here's the lock-off. So no surprises here, just very little availability. And the 3-bedroom Grand Villa. So even this very expensive room type, fully booked in advance. The whole week of Thanksgiving is gone. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are gone. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day are gone. I don't really know what to tell you other than I never expect to stay at the Grand Californian unless I'm paying cash, honestly. Like I don't expect to do a DVC stay there. That was your look at availability for Disney Vacation Club. We were really focused in around that fall break time, so mid-October, centered around Indigenous Peoples Day. That is 7 months from today. We did also take a look though at September, sometimes in the summer, you know, June, July, August. Sometimes we pushed it out further to look at winter holidays. Overall, I would say if you want to go in July or August, if you want to deal with the heat in Florida at least, that availability seemed better than most of the other months. It's really going to depend on your flexibility. Can you move your vacation days? Do you have enough points to, for example, size up to a 1-bedroom if you were instead targeting a studio? Generally, if you're flexible enough, you can always find a stay. But if you have, you know, 1 week of the year you want to go and you definitely want to stay in a standard view studio at the BoardWalk, like there are instances where having that home resort priority is very important. I hope this was helpful. My channel has a ton of other Disney Vacation Club themed videos going over tips, tricks, sort of these kinds of behind the scene things. I'll leave some links in the description below, videos that might interest you, and I hope you take a look around. If you found this informative or enjoyable, please be sure to hit that like button. You can also subscribe to the channel, then ring that bell icon to receive a notification whenever I post a new video. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments down below and I'll do my best to get back to you. I do want to state again though that yes, this was a real look at availability, and I hope it gives you some sense of what it may be like. It definitely will give you a sense of the interface that you would be using, But it's not necessarily entirely generalizable. These trends may not be true next year. People's vacation patterns change. My best advice is book a room that is available and then go on the waitlist for the room that you really want. The sooner you go on the waitlist, usually the better. I only have a couple of experiences with the waitlist, but it has worked out in my favor. So if you are trying to snag a hard to book room, go on the waitlist, and I'm sending you all of my good vibes. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate that you're here. May the rest of your day be magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.